taking a picture.
All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Anchor of the Week, where you don't have to agree with us to be friends with us. So, okay, our new tradition, it's been like 3 times of a new intro from one of our friends. Yeah, this one, if you know us, then you know exactly who this was. If you do not know us, you're probably thinking, what the heck?
Who was that?
Who was that? But you won't find out till next week. And if you guessed last week's right, it was Joel Lorido. Joel Ezekiel Sombrero Lorido.
Is that his full name?
Yeah, and
Sombrero is...
Sombrero.
Oh, I thought you said sombrero. I was like, Courtney, I don't think it's sombrero.
No, that's a little bit...
Racist. Oh my gosh, we just said it. That's so funny.
I was trying so hard not to say it, and I was like, no, Courtney, just...
It's okay. I'll say it. I'll say it for you. But we're not. So
We're
it's
not.
all right.
No.
Joel's a great friend. And I think this is also the fun part about these is I want to keep this going. I don't know about you, but literally catching people off guard. And like being like, what's the anchor of the week theme song? Yeah.
I was like, as a life motto.
Coming back to
Yes.
the theme song. Because we were literally just all walking with friends on South Bank.
Yeah.
And
So
we were talking about introducing this new thing with the Anchor of the Week theme and having different friends sing. And out of the blue, we're just like, what's the theme song, Joel? Hold up the phone. What is it? And just on the spot. And I think that's the best way to get stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's loose. It's from the heart.
Exactly. It's spontaneous. It's instinct. Yes.
I'm like, there's a catchphrase in there somewhere, but
There
not
is.
everything has to be freaking catchphrase, does it?
It's true.
I want everything to be a catchphrase, but it's not.
Yeah, definitely probably should.
Spontaneous instinct.
Spontaneous instinct.
It's the anchor of the week. No. That's horrible.
I feel like it almost feels like a contradiction to say like the anchor of the week, spontaneous instinct, like keeping you anchored, but like maybe not. You know what I mean? Like
If we feel like it.
if you feel like it.
No. Let's speak with the anchor of the week. I'm going to take you off guard in a spontaneous instinct. We
ready.
have not done this in forever because we're so funny that way. What's kept you anchored this week?
Nice. I knew that was coming. Wow. What has happened this week? I feel like. Before I answer that, if you can hear people talking, it's because we are in Access Studio again. This is not me stalling, but it kind of is. And we're in Access Studio, which is obviously a shared space. So we've got some people on the other side of the room. So
well, they're really nice to let us kind of use this whenever we want, but sometimes
Honestly,
they're also doing stuff. So
which is fair.
If
you hear other yapping, that's not us. That's what that is.
Exactly. But however, why do I always have to do this? You've heard all 3 of those people yap on the podcast.
That's
before.
true.
I won't tell you who they are, but
You get bonus points if you guess. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. Bonus points, I don't know. Like for bragging rights? Like,
I guess
amongst 2.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yourself.
what has kept me anchored this week? I'm really trying to think. I've been reading this book called Confessions by St. Augustine. And honestly, like, it's funny to say that I feel like I picked up reading again last year. But this
You
book...
briefly became illiterate and quickly ended that. Yeah.
Picked it back up again. But I have started that book this year, and I'm not reading it as consistently as I have other books. But I enjoy like just coming back to it because it's literally this saint from the year, I want to say like 382 or something.
That's crazy.
Which is absolutely insane. And it's a whole book, and he's confessing everything he's literally ever done. Like things that he thought were good, but that he's like, actually, like the underlying heart behind this was not good, and here's why. And he's like, it's really interesting.
That's so, yeah.
And so because of that as well, it's hard for me to be like, let me sit and read 4 chapters, you know? So I kind of read it in chunks. But
it's not a confrontation.
Exactly. So I think that's been keeping me anchored, though, because it's also, I read, and this man was however many years older, like, he's been gone for forever. You know, like that time is so distant from us. But at the same time, a lot of the stuff that he's dealing with, I'm like, whoa, I can see that in me even, you know?
Because it's like the root of everything is actually so simple.
Genuinely.
The root of the human condition.
Exactly. And so I think like one thing specifically that I've been thinking about today, he is talking about how he's really good, like analytical mind. He can think well, he can think smart, he's a lot of quote unquote wisdom that people around him have told him that he has, you know, and he knows that is a skill of his and he can think deeply. But there's a whole chunk where he talks about, he's like, I'm sorry that because he's confessing to God, and the whole book is directed to God. And he says, like, I'm sorry, God, where I could have used my skill as a sacrificial thing to give back to you, but instead I just tried my darndest to control it. Basically, like, that's me paraphrasing.
Yeah, I was going to say the darndest.
The darndest. That's been like my favorite word. I said that like 3 times today. Anyway.
Interesting. New face.
Yeah. He's like talking about how it literally pained him, something like that, along the lines of pain.
Wow.
To control it.
Wow.
Instead of just sacrificing it. And I'm just like, that's actually insane. And so that specific line was one that I just had been sitting with. Like, what am I, controlling when I could just be sacrificing it? And one, feeling more free about that thing. Feeling less burdened by it in a way, and giving God more glory in it,
Love that.
So I think that book has been
That's great.
anchored this week.
And yes, we did both admit that every time we see the book cover, we sing Confessions by Usher in our heads.
Yep,
So,
literally.
a little different.
And it's funny because it's like the cover is, a painted version of this saint, and it's his head in his hands just like bent over, and I'm like, these are his confessions. Like,
It's so good.
It's so funny.
You can't sing more than that because
That's it. Copyright. No.
Copyright. I don't know. I don't want them to silence our videos. You can't silence us
Kids.
when we're singing Usher.
No, you
Anyway.
can't. But anyway, Court,
Yeah.
what's been keeping you anchored this week?
Wow, so spontaneous. A question.
I feel like you have an answer. I don't know.
I thought of it while you were answering yours. To be fair.
Nice.
No, like
So you weren't active listening, is what you're saying. I'm kidding. I'm joking.
should that be a podcast topic?
I feel like Jetson brought that up at one point.
He
in,
always
like,
does.
One of the conversations.
He always does. No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't. But him and I have had discussions
Okay.
about active listening, so I think that's why.
That's fair. I was like mid-range active listening for you. Okay. But I think for me, it's like I've been developing a new routine, like a morning routine specifically, and like bringing back some stability into my life. Bringing back. I don't even know what that, like. I don't know how it got lost. I think just the chaos of the 20s.
Yeah.
Like my 20s. And the 20s,
Yeah,
maybe.
honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
Ever
the
since
2020s. And like, okay, I'm probably gonna yap about this for forever, but I am turning 30 this year. I know. I can't believe it either. It's fine.
Insert applause sound.
I know, right? Please. That's so bad. But like, I think I have this revelation of like, okay, like it's a new decade, and yeah, okay, nothing's like gonna change dramatically overnight. You know what I mean about my 20s to 30s. However, like I do want to go into it with this mindset of like, oh, I'm actually taking care of myself, or like, I'm not just letting things happen. You know what I mean? So like, I'm not doing my schedule to the perfect that I would love it to. Like, I'm still not getting up when I want to get up, but it's better than it was, and it's consistent. Yeah. And I'm like learning to be like, well, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm making breakfast. I'm preparing. I'm like meal prepping. I'm whatever, guys. I make my own protein bars now. So
Actually, though, and they look good. Like every time you bring one out, I'm like, hold up.
Yeah.
And they're gluten-free.
Gluten-free, dairy-free. Come on.
Snaps. Hats off, man.
I know. So really, I'm just on another level here. And
Yeah.
I'm going to start my wellness podcast now. Just kidding. Absolutely not.
Courtney's wellness podcast.
Yeah. There's so many things I go into with that. Maybe not today. I don't know. Once upon a time, that would have actually been very realistic.
True.
Yes. But I just think having that kind of stability, that consistency, but also like the grace within it, I think has been super helpful for me.
That's the thing.
It's like, okay, you tried.
Yeah.
You did it. Okay, maybe you overslept, and okay, in the morning, 15 minutes does make a difference, when you have to leave the house at a certain time and like, but it's still like, okay, well, I'm still going to get up. I'm still going to read my Bible. I'm still going to, even if it's not like this beautiful hour in the morning as I watch the sunrise,
Right.
Never going to happen. No, not never going to happen, but like not realistic.
Not realistic. Not every day.
Not every day.
I like what you said about like you said, it's better than it was, but it's also consistent. And I think that's how I've been thinking. Again, I know we're in February now, but in my head, it's still like New Year vibe, right?
Absolutely.
Like when it comes to quote unquote setting goals for the new year, or like your resolutions and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like I haven't really been thinking. It's more about as long as it's better than it was and it's consistent. It doesn't have to be perfect every time, right? It doesn't have to be exactly this way, but like it's constantly getting better. And I think that also helps us from like falling into like, what's the word? Like feeling like a failure, Yeah. If you do sleep in one day, instead of, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you're constantly taking a step up. I love that. Yeah.
Better than it was. Title of the episode? Hey. I don't know. It's very loose. It's very...
It feels like better than it was sounds like early 2000s like drama.
I just think of Harry
series.
Styles as it was.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, don't sing that.
Yeah. See, I just said as. Yeah. Can't
Cut
catch
off.
me. Can't
Cut
catch
off.
me. Can't catch me.
She's too fast. She's too fast for you. Copyright, please. I don't know.
Cut myself off.
Literally. But yeah, honestly, today is kind of one of those just episodes where we just want to kind of catch up. But more than that, we were talking about something. I don't know. I'm just like still thinking about it because we told you guys that we do this, right? We said this a couple episodes ago that we'll like have a conversation, fully flush it out between each other, and then bring it up on the podcast in a like nightly. Oh gosh, Courtney, come on.
Yeah.
Nicely wrapped, package for you. But we were literally talking right before the episode, and we went, stop. Like, actually, that's it.
That's it. We'll bring it up on the podcast.
No more thoughts. Let's have it actually in real time. We were talking about like a few different, obviously, situations, and this podcast is based off relationships, right? But about how like when I say something to someone, or if I talk to someone specifically, or when I bring something up, am I bringing this up for? This is where I want to take it, but if you have somewhere else to take it,
I'm
down.
I'm down.
Like, am I bringing this up for my validation? And it's funny because we both realized or found out that we had similar conversations with different people just talking about this. And of like, the conversation that I had with someone was like, well, I don't want to bring this up because like, what if like, because I don't want you to feel manipulated by me, or like, sometimes we're like self-aware to a fault.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
No, yeah, I agree. I agree.
We can maybe go through
you.
this. And I think especially as Christians, like, sometimes I get so annoyed because I'll like do something or say something, and it's like, obviously, you've got the Holy Spirit in you, you've got the word of the Bible, you've got all these different things. Yeah. And I'm just like, or even like, if you were just raised right a lot of times, like you've got a set of morals or like a compass in that sense. But I'm just like, I'll say something and be like, okay, well, actually, that was me acting out of my insecurity because I know you said that, but really it's triggering this one thing that happened yesterday, and I'll like apologize and ask for forgiveness, and it's like exhausting.
Honestly,
like it's great, but but then sometimes you have conflict with people, and I was talking to someone, I was like, okay, so like when we have this kind of conflict, like we should bring it up, but like that other person didn't want to bring it up because they were like, but it's if I have an issue with you, then it's my fault, or not my fault, but like,
oh, interesting. It's like my issue that I need to deal with.
Because this is now turned into Courtney's rant. I'm so sorry, but are we surprised? No. Basically, like it's this whole idea of like if I have a problem with you, at the end of the day, I can't change you. I can just change me, and that is a true principle. Yeah. Right. But then it's like, then you're in a relationship, and like, okay, if something happened, I know that I can only change myself. But then that usually creates distance if you don't talk about it. Exactly. And it's this whole thing.
Because I also think, especially in that situation, you not bringing it up is also not helping the other person. Yeah. Because they may, and I've always said this, where I feel like everyone has their own blind spots. Yeah. And sometimes friends can see things in us that we don't even see, that we're quote unquote either good at or bad at or need help in, or our strengths or our weakness. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's kind of like if you're choosing not to bring it up, then it's, I don't know.
I agree with you, but that wasn't even
not the context.
I don't say I did nothing, but I didn't do anything. It was more of like contextually sort of things were happening, and it was this person's choice to sort of distance because that was like the easiest thing, Yeah. Yeah, but it's just one of those things where it's like, but then I had my own thing where I was like, okay, but if I bring it up, like I struggle with being everyone's savior. You know what I mean? And like trying to fix every situation. And if I like
help
even
you change, right? Like,
and if I smell dissension in any form, I'm like, no, let's talk about it. We have to confront it. And we're going to be best friends after this. And it's going to be beautiful. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's like also, that's so unhealthy for me too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. Anyway.
That is interesting. No, yeah. I want to go back because on this same topic, like the conversation that I had with said other friend, similar to this was
should we create like fake names for them?
We should, honestly. And then like everyone who like has to guess who's actually, but because I was thinking about okay, let me gather my thoughts. We were talking about when you need to confront somebody or a situation, not even necessarily somebody, but like if there's dissension, I liked that word. If there's dissension between you and someone else, like there are certain people that I will bring it up with because we have a similar mindset, right? You, for instance, like if you and I aren't agreeing on something.
Well, but you just said because we have similar mindsets. But like, you don't even know that yet. You know what I mean? Like when you first brought this up to me, that was like a revelation from later. There's certain people that, you know what I mean?
Wait, okay, say that again.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was a lot of words. Also, why do I always feel like I'm in The Office? Like the show The Office?
Because you like look at
I
the
always
camera
look at the
every now
camera.
and then. I
Because,
forget it's there.
yeah, well, yeah, it's two different ways.
Yeah.
But you said, because what you said to me out there,
Uh-huh.
okay, was like, there's certain people that I feel comfortable bringing it up with. And
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because we share a similar mindset. But right now, because
true.
you're so self-aware,
Yeah.
you just put that into,
Yeah.
I share it with you because we have, no, like,
Interesting.
I just watch it happen in real time.
Whoa, that's actually crazy.
You know what I mean? Because you're already trying to like make it make sense in your head.
Right.
Or like improve, be better.
Crazy. Yeah.
So, on that note, why do I feel like you're a therapist right now?
Hey, don't. It's okay. I almost said therapizing like it was a verb. I was like, we're therapizing each other. Can that be
No,
a
exactly. We are. We're therapizing because it's kind of it, but does not make sense at all.
Honestly.
You know what I mean?
And we're both too self-aware and want to fix ourselves too much sometimes.
Literally.
Yeah.
But, okay, so like to rephrase it though, you said there are certain people where you feel more comfortable confronting things with.
Yes. But even in that conversation, it was like, because I know that, like, me and you, I can confront you because if we don't agree, I know that we can work through things. We work through things similarly in our head.
Yeah.
So I know that we can work through things almost together in our relationship. You know?
Is that like your first instinct though? Or is your first instinct though is I trust Courtney? Sorry, that's...
Oh, interesting.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Because I'm wondering, because I definitely agree with you that that's probably like the root of a lot of it.
Yeah, I don't think it's... I mean, I'm not saying that I don't trust you, but that is not the first reason. I do trust you.
No,
but I'm
okay.
thinking about another person,
Okay.
for instance, and I trust you both exactly the same.
Okay.
But when it comes to confronting like a situation or a disagreement or
Okay.
something, it's almost like I don't want... Yeah, I realize. I'm like... It's all coming to me. We're processing on the pod. Hey, hope you were enjoying this because who knows what we're gonna air.
Literally, buckle up, baby.
But I'm now thinking about it. It's almost, I don't want to bring up the thing with this other person because I know they will challenge how I see things. You know what I mean?
Dang.
Which is almost making me think now, do we
I'm like, no, I challenge you.
I'm like, well, we challenge each other, but from a different place. You know, it's interesting.
Here's my argument. But we developed a very raw, authentic relationship.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That has trust, that has whatever. Because literally the other day, I was saying something in a way, like, sometimes it comes off very I say things very sarcastically sometimes, but I am like so genuine about them. Like So I said something and you looked at me and you were like, are you being sarcastic or like you just disassociate? Like, what is this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, actually, like, no, I meant that, but like, thank you because like, that's true. It came off sounding very like demeaning.
Yeah, yeah.
Essentially. And then after I was like, oh, like, I'm really thankful that we have a friendship where you can call me out. Because it was true in that moment. And I'm glad that you said something so that I could, be aware of it.
Yeah.
But I think like we just naturally do that. So I don't think we don't
Right.
challenge each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like trying to think. I'm like, what is it? But it's also maybe I'm thinking too hard because also
Actually, it's probably.
I'm like I don't have to understand it because I think, wow, it's so cheesy to say. That's like the importance of relationships, you know, and of having relationships with people who have different perspectives than you and different temperaments than you. You know, like we've talked about it before on the podcast of like you can all have the same goal and whatever, but like have completely different mindsets, worldviews on this specific thing, you know? And so like, and I think that's okay. But now it's just having to tell myself like it's okay to confront someone else, knowing that they are going to look at this situation differently,
Very differently,
and bring something different to it.
Yeah,
that may not validate how I'm feeling, but will challenge me almost.
Do you think it's also sort of like an efficiency thing? Because for me, then I'm like, okay, this is great because like I see it a bit now from your side, you see it from my side, but we're not closing the book, like flipping the page.
Yeah.
Because sometimes for me, I'm like, okay, this is great. We can have a nice dialogue about this, but like, is it solved? No. So like, we're not leaving here until we solve it, sort of a thing.
Interesting.
Potentially.
Yeah, that could actually be true. Of like wanting it to come to a close.
Yeah, which is really just control.
Hey-oh, she's back. And by she, I mean control. It always comes back to, right? Literally, as we were talking about, like St. Augustine, everything stems from like whatever.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. LOL. Control.
That's the thing. And I think, yeah, as much as I harp on being self-aware and how annoying it is great though.
Yeah.
But again, like, but imagine being self-aware. Like, it's self-awareness in light of, because we are Christians, God.
Yeah.
Not self-aware in light of myself, because that would actually be so depressing.
Bro, yeah.
Because the beautiful thing is I actually can't change myself. I can like take steps of improvement, but I cannot transform myself in that sense.
Yeah.
Or it's like nice to know that I don't have to do this by myself.
Yeah.
So that's my little caveat in there.
That's great. No, yeah.
Because it's true.
Because imagine just how, I don't know. Yeah. Tiring, burdensome.
I mean,
like,
we've been
heavy.
there.
Yeah.
I've been there. Right.
When you're like constantly trying to control and
trying to be the best version of you from your own strength.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I
crazy.
have been there. And thankfully God, I say thankfully now, in the moment it was horrible. Because, okay, if we want to talk about how God talks to me, sometimes he has to like yell at my face, you know, like shut every door, shut everything I'm trying to control to be like, Sadie, can I just like,
can I have your attention,
can I have
please?
Literally, he's like, gavel, you know what I mean? Like, thank you so much, but like, I'm here to say something. So that's usually how he speaks to me. But in those, I have very specific moments of like me trying to control my life and where I'm going and the direction I'm going. Yeah. He has to like literally turn off all the lights and for me to go, what's going on? And he's like, hey, remember me? Yeah. Hey, remember me?
I'm right here.
Let's talk. You know, like,
yeah. Which is great. Like, that's great for you. Like it's great. I'm so happy for you.
It's great.
But no, I mean, just side note, caveat of like how cool God is that he talks to us in the way that low-key we talked and we respond. Yeah. Because I need you to get all up in my grill. Yeah. If, to pay attention to you. Right. Like. Right. And that sounded mean, but I hope you know what I meant by that.
No, yeah. I mean, I feel like people can gauge that about both of us.
No. We come off so...
We're so gentle. What do you mean?
So soft-spoken.
So soft-spoken.
Docile.
Docile. Wow, I haven't heard that word in forever.
No.
Yeah, but I also, if we want to go down that rabbit hole, I'm thinking like that is, I know, the biggest way that God speaks to me. But I think even just in the past year, like he's had to show me different ways of speaking. And it's been so beautiful, but it's helped me see almost a different side of myself, I love that. Because for instance, like I'm saying, like God is really good at like being like, Sadie, listen. And for me to be like, okay, God, like in my anger, because that is the default emotion for me.
Get in that for another topic.
Yeah, exactly. Bink. That was my pin sound. Bink.
We're just on one today.
We really are. Anyway, but this last year, it's been like moments of me at like such a soft, like God having to like, sounds so weird if you're not a Christian, but even if you are a Christian, like I see him like brushing my hair, you know what I mean? Like little daughter, like brushing my hair, like having gentleness. Like gentleness, softness. And that has been so eye-opening for me to see myself that way as well. To see it's okay to be soft and gentle and quiet sometimes, Like, that's not my default, Yeah. But even allowing God to speak to me in that way has helped me realize, but that's also part of who I am. Yeah. Because
it's forcing you to. Yeah. Because
exactly.
you respond the way, you know what I mean? Like.
Yeah.
That's why when people yell, more people yell.
True.
You know? Like.
Yeah. Exactly.
We match the energy of the room and when God's setting the energy. Okay, but here we go. Okay. Because now I'm like. Okay, so our first conversation about how like you will only confront certain things with certain people. Yeah. Or like bring stuff up, or you realize different motivations. And now we're talking about how God speaks to us. So now my question is, do you bring up only certain things with God, or only bring them up in certain ways?
I think that very much. That's how I used to be. Okay. I will say 100%. And not saying that I have it perfect now, but I think
you've grown
more aware of this, right? Enough to like talk about it. Yeah. And to recognize that, I used to be there, but I feel like I'm getting better at just being like blunt and honest, but also not, and I say blunt, and initially your thought is, okay, that's, hard anger, like more outspoken or whatever, but like blunt in the sense of I'm sad. You know, like if I'm like, God, I'm sad, like I'll come to him in my sadness.
Yeah.
Not putting on a show or not even masking the sadness with anger or frustration, you know? And because that's always been easier for me to just go to God and be like, I'm mad about this. Why are you doing this? You know what I mean? Or like, fix this. Why is this like this? Instead of just coming to him and being like, I am sorrowful. Like, I am so sad.
That takes an emotional maturity, though. And I feel like the actual overarching theme of this podcast, what coming up, is like the roots of everything. It's like actually going into the roots and like...
Yeah.
Because, okay, basically, you've understood that you are masking. Mm-hmm. And so it's actually sadness or sorrow or grief or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think, not to cut you off, were you done?
No, I was done. Yeah,
okay, cool. But then, pendulum swing back to like our relationships with people. And I think I just want us to get better, like us as in like us, but also humanity, of like recognizing like the motivation and the roots of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think I will be thinking about this for a while, about am I bringing something up to receive validation from somebody? Mm-hmm. And like, that's a healthy question. That's not a condemning question to ask.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things where it's like, oh, I didn't even know that could be, no, I never thought about it too hard for it to be like, oh, this is why I'm bringing this up with you. This is why I'm, you know, because I want you to agree with me, or because I want you to tell me that I'm okay and I didn't hurt your feelings and like whatever it is.
I'm even thinking like from a different context, like even advice, like when we go to people for advice, like, do you go to certain people because you know they're going to give you like a certain kind of advice that is advice, but really just like saying, yeah, you're right, you know, like just agreeing with you, or again validating you, like
But I think that comes down to recognizing roles as well. Like, because, I mean, many people have mentors, right? In the church, we'd call it more like discipleship.
Yeah.
And I was listening to this other podcast. And this guy, I think he just turned 40. He's like a pastor in the States. Like, very respected. But he's saying that, like, he's like, no, like, when I go for discipleship or mentorship, he goes, I shut up and I listen. Because there's a reason why that person, like, they're farther along than I am. You know what I mean? And I was just like... my gosh. He's like, in those situations, it doesn't matter necessarily how I'm feeling, how I'm thinking, how, you know.
Yeah.
Well, about this situation, it's let me sit there, receive your advice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's actually so smart.
I'm like, it's so simple.
It's so simple. Like,
but like, I think there's so many blurred lines now.
Yeah.
But of course, we can have friends where we can talk things through and, you know, be supportive. But just like knowing the, I guess, the place of priority or like, the meaning behind it or the purpose maybe.
Because if we're thinking about like to go to the Bible, like, and I may be wrong, I'm not a theologian, but like I don't remember the disciples coming to Jesus just like many times. And like imagine you're a disciple of Jesus and the day starts and you go up to Jesus, you're like, hey, so I'm feeling this, like what do you think I should do? Or like, you know what I mean? Like this happened to me. What do you think about that? You know, like I feel in my brain, they're just there, like to listen. And I'm not saying that our mentors and our disciplers are Jesus, but it's that same.
It's the model of discipleship.
Exactly, the model of discipleship. And I think, to be fair, I've learned a lot of that recently because, like, I just got a new discipler last year, and like Joey, shout out, as we wave towards the camera,
as we wave
silently.
in silence.
But it's been amazing because I feel like sometimes when I have discipleship with Joey, like in my head, I'm like, okay, I would really want to like talk about this. Like I feel like I need to bring this up. And then sometimes we just sit there and we chat about like something that's not even relevant to what I was going to. But the conversation is clearly like spirit filled and clearly exactly what needed to be talked about, you know? And then I can walk out of that and go, oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
I see her. It's control. She's back. Because we try to control the conversations and the narratives to get what we want from it.
Crazy.
But not what we need.
Wow. Control. She's sneaky.
She's so sneaky.
I don't like her. we don't like control.
I'm gonna edit this into a reel.
And we're control. That's deep.
Cancel control.
Cancel control. And not in like a weird like we're against the government sort of thing, but like cancel control. Maybe
not you, but
hey, that's a big different podcast topic.
It's okay. I ranted on about that one for approximately a year straight. So
True. That's
so
true.
it's fine. I think that's past it. Go back to old episodes for that.
Yeah.
But it's true.
Yeah.
You sit there and then you realize, okay, actually, like what I thought I wanted, maybe I actually isn't what I needed.
Yeah.
Or it's not that. Jetson had a great quote a few episodes ago, several episodes ago at this point. But it's like, oh, I just blanked on it.
Oh no. Just insert it here. Just like the.
I don't know. It's on the Instagram, so I'm really tempted to just like pull it up. But essentially, it's like, well, something that like has like means a lot to you might not matter a lot in the grand scheme of things.
That's what it is.
I just needed a couple extra seconds there to
just the verbally process it. It came out. Yeah.
But it's that whole idea, right? Of like, and I think having the humility and the maturity, to be like, okay, like this it's important to me, but grand scheme of things, like this might not be life or death.
Yeah.
Or it might just be a byproduct of something deeper, the root.
The root.
Always in the root. So I think we covered a lot of different themes somehow in this, but it branched from.
Yeah, but it also is under the same umbrella, I feel like, at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think it came like, I don't know. I love the fact that it came from two separate conversations that we had with our friends, and it opens up this whole other world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you have anything that you think you're going to like specifically take away from this conversation?
I think the biggest thing is, like the beginning chunk of when I'm bringing up things with people. I don't even know what that is, like what that takeaway is, but I'm just like, I know I'm still processing that. You know, maybe it's just telling myself I don't need to be afraid to bring up things.
Yeah.
And trusting that my relationships are strong enough to bring that up, you know, and to say to this thing and to be wrong.
I was going to say, actually, like, because getting your feelings hurt is not the end of the world.
No.
Like it happens, you know, but like, because I'm thinking about this too. And I'm like, okay, maybe, I'm going to say, hey, I had an issue with this. And you're going to be like, well, actually, these are the reasons why that's kind of an invalid, you know.
Yeah.
And that would be a little bit ouch. But that's not the end of the world.
No. And it helps. Like, bottom line is it's going to help you grow, see yourself better.
Exactly.
You know? And it'll challenge your perspective, which is great. So, and that's what we're all about.
We're all about that. And I think for me, it's like, one, look at the root of it. Like, literally just asking myself why. Okay, why am I doing this? Why am I thinking this? Why am I, you know? But then, like, the attachment to that is like, but don't become so self-aware that you become self-obsessed. Yeah. Could that be the quote for the episode?
Maybe. Honestly.
It had a good cadence to it.
It did. Self-aware, self-obsessed.
Yeah. But I think that's, always keep the self-awareness in light of like, okay, but God's growing me. He's changing me. He's
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
that's it.
Not to end crazy Christian, but like.
Well, no, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Say it.
I do this all the time. You like go to have a good thought, and I'm like, wait.
You're like, but actually.
So bad. But I was thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, we have been talking about God a lot more in recent episodes.
Yeah.
I don't know. The podcast is just doing its thing.
We're
just trying to be here, available, doing what it needs to do. But it just is the way that you and I, that's our worldview.
That's true.
So sometimes it will be maybe less like overtly Christian. Sometimes it might be completely overtly Christian, but I don't know. Something new. Welcome, guys.
Yeah. But what I was saying, to end, I think just on like my biggest takeaway and my biggest realization yet again, because this constantly comes back to me, is that my relationship with God is going to flow out in my other relationships. Yeah. So even if I am growing in how I speak to God and being honest with him, that relationship will dictate how I can confront, love, challenge in my other relationships.
Absolutely.
So in my head, I'm like, okay, well, where do I need to start with God? You know,
that's so true.
I think that's what I'm thinking right now.
It just reminds me of the verse, like, from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks.
Yeah.
And if you're a Christian, not a Christian, I think that principle we can all get behind.
Genuinely, though.
Whatever is inside or going on in your internal world is going to come out. So.
And again, I feel like we talked about that on the last podcast with Minha. Very similarly.
Very similar. See? Yeah. It's almost like, you know, as people, we're connected and it all has a plan and a purpose. And I love what you did there. Yeah. Anyway, hopefully, guys, this brought up some things for you too.
Yeah. Got you thinking about things, about your relationships. maybe, I don't know, what you need to confront in yourself or in other people.
Just
and
little things like that.
Just little
So,
things.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what we're all about, keeping you anchored.
keeping you anchored, even though sometimes I feel like we're tossed at sea sometimes in the conversation.
Yeah.
But, you know, we got that anchor.
We
Keep
do.
us grounded.
Amen.
Awesome. Anyway, guys, you know the drill. You know where to find us on Instagram, on TikTok, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you're listening to this. You already found us, so that's amazing. Don't forget to, you know, leave us a comment, maybe a little review. It really does help, but, you know, we're not going to make you. But I'm just saying.
But if you want
But if you want to.
we highly appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. But, guys, hope you have a great week, and we will see you in